People often ask me, is being a YouTuber fun? And the answer to that is, 90% of the time, yes it is. The other 10% of the time...
Oh man, stop spitting out f***ing toilet paper. I don't know where you're going. I don't think you know where you're going. It's f***ing reverse, man. F***ing boot you in a minute. What the f*** are you doing?
Let me start out by saying, the vast majority of things you're about to watch aren't entirely SwitchBot's fault, and we'll talk about why shortly, but I didn't think it was right to not include my complete unadulterated experience. Now, you may remember that I reviewed the SwitchBot K10 Plus back in December last year, and I rather ridiculously compared it to my Roborock S8 Pro Ultra, which cost more than £1,000 more money. And I was absolutely astounded at how well it was able to compete with a RoboVac that was over £1,000 more money with its tiny little £400 price tag. Insanity. It made it into where it actually made it to the wall. I have never seen any RoboVac actually get underneath that table because none of them are small enough. This thing gets between more legs than Charlie Sheen. Now, to my knowledge, SwitchBot never released a SwitchBot K10. They started out with a K10 Plus, and now, for whatever reason, we have the K10 Plus Pro. Because as we all know, the more letters and adjectives that you put on the end of a product name, the better the product. Next month, they're releasing the K10 Plus Pro Shamalama Ding Dong. The new K10 Plus Pro Shamalama Ding Dong contains more bompsha bompsha bomp than any other vacuum on the market. SwitchBot. Bompsha bompsha bomp. So considering SwitchBot have decided to price the K10 Plus Pro for the same price as the K10 Plus, it does beg the question, is this the best RoboVac on the planet? Let's find out. Thanks to SwitchBot for sponsoring today's video and for sending me their SwitchBot K10 Plus Pro. I'm going to now create the entirety of the rest of this video on the fly. That joke has just turned a year old and has been used 16 times. 17 times. Okay, one spare one of these. Because you connect one of them on. Like this, like. Tiny dock.
That's what she said.
Enhanced obstacle avoidance. So let's get this out of the way now. The vast majority of the trouble I've found with this is because I did all my testing in this room. And unfortunately for me, this thing does not like dark carpets. Anything that is a dark carpet, it thinks is a cliff. But it only thinks it's half a cliff. It will continuously try and mount this half a cliff, and then it will get totally confused as to where it is, and it will bounce off every wall going. I had a hell of a time. Alright, mate. Paul from the future here, about 3 weeks into the future actually. This is fixed. I don't know if it's the firmware update or the fact that they sent me a new robot out of terror. I think they were terrified that this was going out unedited, and they sent me another robot, and I've plugged it in and it works just fine. So all of that stuff of it bumping into the wall, forget about it. It now looks like this, and it's fine. Don't worry. I'll let him get back to ranting though, because it was funny, right? I'll just leave him ranting. See you in a bit. I had the worst time I've ever had. It was kind of like that time that Master Yoda gave Luke a whole bunch of mushrooms and then sent him down that cave.
I feel cold.
I don't know what you're looking like that for, mate. I know what you did.
A few minutes later.
Luke, mate, you're having a bad trip. You just need to come with me and stop hanging out with the little green man. You've been hitting a tree with a stick for the last 15 minutes. The reality is, once you actually put this thing in a normal environment where you don't have a really dark carpet, it works astoundingly well. All of the whole, working its way in and out of chair legs is just as phenomenal, if not better, than it was on the K10 Plus. The K10 Plus Pro is probably the best robot I have tried so far for going in and out of chair legs and getting into tight little spaces. Chris, mate. Chris. Not subscribed, according to this. That's all that Chris has freaked out. Next week, David's. If your name is Chris or David or any other name, it does me a huge favour if you subscribe and ding the bell and give the video a thumbs up. All that stuff tells YouTube to pass me on to more people, and that's all I want in the whole world. On with the show.
Auto empty station, dual cleaning and mopping. Mopping? Mopping? Just spent 10 minutes rooting through the packaging trying to find the mop attachment. Here's Paul from the past to explain.
It's basically a kitchen wet wipe that you wrap around a piece of plastic and attach to the base. If you think about what you would do with this naturally if you bought a vacuum like this for your small apartment, is at some point you're going to think, I wonder if I could wrap a little kitchen utensil around it and let it just go about its... SwitchPot have just done that for you. That's all there is to it. And of course, it's not as good as Roborock's vibrating mopping pad that cleans itself, but it does actually work. So anyone that thinks that the mop pad doesn't do anything is extremely wrong. I don't even know where all that's come from. The weird thing is, I haven't had it on vacuuming mode. I didn't realise. I set it for its first run and it was just mopping, which is why it was so quiet. But the floor has been cleared of things that were there that were left behind by the other vacuum. So, these don't do nothing. They look, collected stuff. To be completely fair to this little robot, I have given it more abuse than Master Yoda gave to Luke Skywalker. When did you take his jeans off? But unfortunately, my test was completely ruined because I went out in the rain, on the one day it rained, and then I walked all muddy footprints through the thing and then waited specifically for 24 hours before carrying out my test. My test went to complete bollocks because this thing didn't do its route properly. I don't know how well it would have done if it'd done a proper route. It didn't do a proper route because it didn't like my black carpet.
It's a wall! Stop trying to climb the wall! Gotta sound English, don't I? Bottle of water.
It did a pretty good job of the areas that it went over a couple of times, but be serious with yourself. This is a moist towel on the bottom of a RoboVac. If you're interested in a proper mopping system, this isn't the RoboVac for you. But it is a nice little additional feature to have, and it does, as I've said earlier, actually make some difference.
You get a free spare dust bag. Nothing in this life is free.
I then had another fantastic idea that I would crumble some sticky treat into the carpet to see, if I could really test this thing's suction power, because it is 500 pascals more powerful than the previous model.
Kind of wishing I hadn't just done that. It's probably the stickiest thing I could have put in my carpet.
No! Hello! Yes, YouTube, please! Yeah, this week he's saying something about smushing a sticky treat into his dark carpet! Well, obviously it's a euphemism for something, isn't it? Dark carpet. I don't know, it probably is bottom. Disgusting! The only problem with that is, this is dark carpet, won't go over it. So I tried to stick silver foil over the sensors. If you're thinking of doing this, because that can trick RoboVacs into going over dark carpets, for whatever reason it doesn't work here. SwitchBot just continuously tells you to clean the sensor until you take them off and give up and throw your dark carpet in a bin. I've spoken to SwitchBot about this. I said, how do I get it to clean my dark carpet? They've said currently you can't. However, I have seen them fix it for other RoboVacs. So I'm hoping a firmware update in the future will solve the dark carpet issue. And if it does, I shall let you know in the description.
And now for a real challenge. I'm not 100% convinced this was a good idea. That's a lot of hundreds of thousands.
I gotta tell you, I'm impressed. I dropped what some might say hundreds of thousands of things. There's one. There's a couple still in the main part of the carpet. Another one there. And there are some down the corners. But I think that's to be expected. There's just two more tests then. So the first one is edge cleaning. In the past, I've torn up tissue because it's quite difficult to get away from the edge of the walls. To see how it copes with that, and just like its previous model, it copes with it absolutely brilliantly. Brilliant. It copes with it wonderfully. And And the only thing to note is that I don't think this was a lot of toilet paper, and it really did struggle to hold onto it. It's worth bearing in mind the capacity for this bin is not the same as the capacity for a larger RoboVac. Being tiny comes with its advantages and its disadvantages. It would just go back and empty itself if it could get to its base station, and it does warn you when the bin is full. And the final test, will it eat turds? Oh, God. It's stuck, is it? Yeah. Please help. Of course it will. They all do. There's barely a RoboVac out there that doesn't eat turds, and I will warn you now, if you have turds lying around your house, for some reason, move them before you send your RoboVac around. I think a lot of people expect AI these days to be able to avoid every single cable, every single turd. This RoboVac, just like all the others I've reviewed, it can't wait to swallow that thing. Incomprehensible filth! Hawk to her.
Saucy.
I would buy this. It is a very, very good price tag for something that is this good currently. If the price tag increases back to its usual price, it's a little bit more of a kind of, well, I'd get the original, because the original was great too. If you already own the original, I wouldn't upgrade to this one. I think that's worth noting too, because it isn't a big enough step up to spend another £400. That said, if you have an upstairs and a downstairs and you don't want to move your robot around, it can do multiple floors, by the way. You just can't climb stairs. If you don't want to have to carry it upstairs, you could just buy 2 of these things. If you were going to get a second one, I would get this one. Yeah. Paul from the future again. I figured, because I've now spent a few weeks with this thing, I didn't feel like the end of this video was really fair to SwitchBot, because it is much better, obviously, now that it doesn't ram itself into a wall like it's trying to have sex with it. So it works so much better, and I now think this is probably the best RoboVac bang for buck. If you're looking for something that can mop, obviously this isn't it. It doesn't have mops. It has a little thing that you stick to the bottom. It's not really for that. If you're looking for a vacuum for a small apartment, you're not going to find anything that is as cheap as this and as belligerent as this. This thing gets into every nook and cranny and beasts its way around every little chair, but it's actually really good at making sure it doesn't damage your furniture. If you're looking for best bang for buck RoboVac, this is it. I'm going to let him get back to saying whatever he was saying, but, if it's kind of downhearted in any way, take it with a pinch of salt. See you in a bit. That's it for this week. As usual, there are links in the description as to where you can pick one of these robots up if you're interested. In the meantime, this video is brought to you by these incredible people. They're my patrons from Patreon, and without them, I'd be working in a call center. Every week, I thank one personally, and this week it's Ken Miller, because he is my most recent patron. Thanks, Ken. If you want to be like these guys, or like Ken, just do me a huge favor. You can do that at either Patreon, or buy me a one-off beer at PayPal, and either way, I would genuinely love you forever. These are my Facebooks and my X's, my Threads and my Instagrams and my TikToks. Come and hang out there or you'll be best friends. See you next time. The lights have all changed. Computer, studio mode. Ghosts.